This is Occult Abyss, episode 5. We're not going to talk about what happened in episode 4. I'm going to start off with that. Let's just say some unfortunate things happened. And today, our
People
guests,
died.
people did die. And now there's only me and Aiden for this week. So we've got our guest here, Malice from Apokatastasis, right?
You said it
A
wrong.
I'm saying it wrong on purpose. I'm gonna say it wrong.
You're a
Like,
funny guy.
yeah, I know. Thank you. I
The
appreciate
right way. Say it the right
Actually,
way. Let's see it.
it's just pronounced this way. All right.
it.
I had to
Okay.
make it brutal.
Okay.
Cut out for a
A bit of
second.
presentation.
What if they made it but
Okay.
brutal? Okay, so we've got it's a blackened brutal death metal band. Pretty cool stuff. Apparently, there's some sort of full length on the way. I'm not 100% sure about that. All the details with that. But I guess we could start with questions. Aiden, what do you want to say about this?
Okay. So I noticed like the first thing about your band is that the lyrics they seem to be very Christian in nature. So it has me thinking it's like, do you think that the last innovation that anybody can sort of make in metal music is just in the lyrics now because every single sound has been explored and it's just like now so many bands are like, oh, I'm not saying that's the case with yours, but so many bands now it's like, oh, we're the band with Dark Souls lyrics. We're the band with like fucking Lovecraft
The
lyrics. We're the
Witcher.
band with yeah, like fucking video games and shit or whatever. But I understand that with like certain bands like Mortification from Australia, like
Oh
this
yeah.
has been a thing forever. But do you think that this might just accelerate in the future, that it'll just get worse and worse and more bands will just start like, I don't know, only sort of innovating lyrically instead of in sound?
Musically.
Yes.
That's a pretty good
Okay,
question.
so
A
yeah,
bit
that got me thinking. You
long-winded.
reminded me of a few artists that I know. So freaking Hermitage. Who was that one chick that was associated with Hermitage who made like Minecraft themed black metal?
Venom.
Venom. So yeah, there's stuff like that. I guess that is quite musically
That
experimental. I won't
Hermitage was
say it's pretty
Minecraft
good
theme.
though.
That's news to me. I didn't know about
No, Venom.
In what
Venom, or
way?
something like
Like,
that.
are they?
Vanon is no, Vanon made like a dungeon synth themed like m- no, it was a Minecraft themed dungeon synth project, and that's quite literally all I have to say about it.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible otherwise,
If
in
your
my personal
band
opinion.
likes video games, I hate you. That's all I'm gonna say.
And there's also like this one freaking NSBM band I heard that had like Toho lyrics or something.
Oh,
Like, all right,
SS Sujinto. Yeah, I know those
yeah.
guys.
And I think it's funny, but it is quite a scary prospect if that's going to be the only innovation to find itself in metal. But the thing is though, me
Stevens is gonna
personally,
have a
my
fucking
my
connection.
my like ideas for innovation aren't just purely lyrical because my lyrics aren't very innovative. People have been doing Christian stuff
Yeah.
in metal for like years. I guess like my whole idea was to try to make something super extreme and brutal and Christian at the same time. A lot of people also have that idea,
Which is
but it's
tough.
not. Yeah, because a lot of Christian bands, they like are a lot of what they do. They'll just take a band of like
Artery
a
eruption.
classic band, but
Molar.
add add Christian lyrics to it. Because freaking Horde, that's just Dark Throne,
Yeah.
like through and through. But they add Christian lyrics to it, and it's like, okay, it's fine if you want to do that, but it's not really like taking things anywhere new. For me, the innovation mainly is trying to come through in the music, not just the lyrics. Because my lyrics, honestly, I just write them down in like 10 minutes. So yeah, that's not the main focus at all.
Yeah.
But
I
no, I try to like be a bit more compositionally interesting, blending more styles, taking more of what I want. Right now I'm being a bit modest. People still say that I'm just really eclectic with like how I make my music with blending all these styles, but that's like modest in comparison to like what I'm planning to do when I finally get all the resources that I need to,
yeah.
fulfill my complete vision.
Yeah. And that's one thing I was gonna bring up is how you like manage to blend several different styles. And like you kind of have a spectrum across all your releases where like you have your debut demo, which is probably the most brutal. And then you have like my most favorite EP, which is Remnants. Yeah.
Yes.
Remnants was awesome. And then you even did like, that Argo Slint, like intestine ballism type track, which I enjoyed. Uh but leading on from Remnants, I think so. This is more on the Blackened side of things than your other demos. My main question is for the future of your band, do you find yourself going into more of a brutal death metal direction or a black metal one? Or are you going to keep trying to retain like the middle ground that you currently have with like the Restitutions one?
Um,
Or is
hmm.
it going to be something like
It's what
completely
I
out
was
of the
imagining.
window?
What I'm imagining is I'm not I'm more trying to experiment with how I can like blend them more seamlessly because right now how it functions, it's sort of like a Beauty and the Beast style thing where I have like the black metal like cool melodic section and the brutal section, but I want to sort of combine them so it's not really as much, it's not really too like compartmentalized. I think that's the
Yeah.
word,
I
but
think
rather
one
like a
oh
whole consistent sound throughout the whole thing. I want to try to do that. I'm not really doing that on like the full length that I'm writing. I'm still doing the sort of like contrasting Beauty and the Beast type stuff. I have
yeah.
some parts where they're sort of mixed together, but I think I should just put this out, then really like hone in on how to combine that. But that's not
Yeah.
really the end. I don't really have a conclusion in mind for the project. I just feel like
You
writing
write what you
whatever.
want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And another thing is shit. Have you heard the Malign song Fireborn? Aiden
The
or Jack?
Swedish Malign,
Yeah.
I've heard of them, but I have not
Well,
listened to them. I wanted to listen to them for the longest time. I'm probably going to now.
I
So
would say that they are probably
please
like
explain.
it's like proto like sort of what your band does because what they do in this song Fireborn is it's pretty standard like I guess black metal in the strain of like Catharsis, all of this stuff that are labeled like Dark Throne clones. It's early Magua, stuff like that. But halfway through the song, they break into like this chuggy ass death metal breakdown. And it's like it it reminds me a lot of what you do, but what you do, it seems less forced. And slowly but surely you're kind of like finding the perfect way to blend the two. I know
Hmm.
there was one track on
I hear a
Define.
lot of that. I hear a
Yeah.
lot of that on like Impiety Chaos Command 696, that album, where it's
Oh
just
yeah.
like, yeah, it's just like a bunch of like really like black metal-y bits and stuff like that. But then there will be like this one. They had the for that album, they had the Disgorge Mexico guitarist.
Damn.
But there are like these bits in it where they do like the Morbid Angel-y string mute thing, where I
Oh
thought that
yeah.
was cool. But yeah, that's like a bit of a sort of like an analog to that Malign thing you just mentioned. I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah.
definitely listen to Malign now that you mentioned there's like this weird chuggy bit.
They are awesome. That what is it? I think it's a demo 95 or 97. It's got
As
like the
far
class.
as far as what I know, they've never like recorded a full length though, haven't they? It's just a bunch of like
It's
demos
all
or
a
something.
yeah, it's all like EPs and compilations.
Mhm.
But it is very, very good. It's that first demo, I think it's 97, but it's got like the bassiest mix I have ever heard in my life. If you listen to the song The Wanderer, it's like if you look at
Is that the one that goes like, I'm not the type of guy that likes to settle down, I'm a wanderer.
maybe. But yeah, I mean, and I'll give you credit for that. Like you seem to have like a very original voice when it comes to like metal in general. You got like your head on your shoulders. Uh you don't do any of this like really crappy video game stuff. And I hate this too. I don't know about you, Aiden, but like when I see like video game themed black
Whenever I
metal,
see video game lyrics, any sort of thing, whenever I see that, it's just an instant turn off for
I
me.
think
yes.
I am
I'm
not
gonna
interested at
burst your
all.
guys' bubble real quick, but the last song on my album, I'm
Is that the
interpolating
Uh
Mario
Toho.
64
I'm
reference?
incorporating a
No.
Toho melody into it. So
Okay,
Yeah,
well
you
take that
already
as
that's
told.
well.
fine.
There's
That's
nothing
fine.
wrong with that.
That's a melody. You're
Toho
not
is
going
accepted.
full fucking bore. You're not going balls deep and like
Yeah.
writing lyrics about like ice fairies and shit.
Yeah, because the thing is, there's no fervor behind that. You know what I mean?
You
It's
know what
like
I mean? It's like
you're writing
you're
over an
writing
object.
over an object.
I can hear my
I
echo,
can
by
hear
the
my
way, Aiden.
I can't.
Okay,
Podcast ruined.
it's
Fuck.
fine.
Tanked it.
It's gone now. But there's no fervor behind it. You know what I mean? Like you're just writing about something that happened. You're writing about like, and I even have this issue with summoning. This is controversial, but like with like Lord of the Rings theme black metal, even that I have issues with. And I feel
Yeah,
like
anything after summoning I can't quite stand. But
yeah,
with
summoning
summoning,
was originally good.
it's like excerpts and stuff from it. And that's the
Yeah.
thing with Lovecraft too. It's like, okay, you're just writing songs about Cthulhu and fucking shit, stuff like that. But
Whoa,
it's like,
bro,
I mean,
Cthulhu.
I don't
yeah.
think like basing songs off of like media you've like, consumed is really
I
that
mean,
bad of
like,
an idea. Because Manila Road
yes,
writes a lot
I
of
was just going to
songs.
say, I was just going to say fucking Manila Road. What was the album? Shit.
Mystification has a song called Master Red Death.
Mystification. Yeah,
Yeah. I was thinking of
Mystification.
ancient too, like later
Or
Was
ancient.
that was that
Val
was that
Sagoth.
Edgar Allan Poe?
Uh,
Hmm.
I think he wrote that, right?
Oh,
I'm not sure.
there's Black all the way back to Black Sabbath. What was it? Beyond the Wall of Sleep or something? That's a Lovecraft story.
Huh.
I mean, it's there forever, but it's like too much now. You notice it's like it's a bit tongue in cheek, sort of. They're just like,
Yeah, I do
oh,
feel like it's too much. And
it doesn't sound natural. It's like all the songs are
yeah,
about it, and it sort of just becomes the priority and not the actual
yeah.
songs.
And that's why I feel like your project is unique because you incorporate like Christian elements, like of your faith. So you have a certain type of fervor. And this leads into my next question with this isn't something like Elgibor or Antester where it's like, basing itself off of something that has already existed, right? Like Emperor or I, I'm not sure what I would compare Elgibor to. So among peers that root their like ideals in blasphemy, anti-Christianity, especially hatred, how do you write songs in a way where you share the same like punch of like, absolute hatred without actually like being dishonest to your faith?
Well, hatred is a universal feeling across all sorts of belief systems. Because freaking in the Bible, we're told to hate sin with our whole heart. So it's not like I can't be hateful and like a Christian because God has a lot of hate and a
So
lot of wrath. That's like
you have to be hateful towards like not towards like individuals or like
yeah,
you
just
have
like
to a concept.
iniquity, evil concepts. That's yeah,
God
that mainly is
God's
it.
very wrathful. He's not like totally merciful, but he's also very wrathful too. It's not like you're playing
Yeah.
the sort of music that I see in like you see in Protestant churches. They'll just play like acoustic guitar music and stuff like
Oh
that. It's not like
yeah,
you're doing that.
freaking wasn't there's one band, I think it's called like Living, I'm not sure if it was Living Sacrifice or Vengeance Rising, something like that. But they were like a death thrash band, and apparently the apparently like the lead singer was a freaking charismatic pastor, Pentecostal pastor, and he
What a
he
nice
converted
guy.
because nobody listened to his band.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's quite crazy.
Well,
I'm
that
pretty
kind
sure
of
he
brings
was a
me
prelude to like the rock concerts.
yeah, that kind of brings me to like another
Churches.
topic. Like what do you think about like all these reformed meddlers like fucking shit. Oh my God, Dave Mustaine like
Hmm.
saying that he's recently converted. He's found the light. Like, what do you think about that? Do you
I
find some
mean,
of that a bit disingenuous? Like they just go on Joe Rogan and say, "Oh, I'm the guy. I used to be all anti-Christian and anti-religious and stuff like this, but now I've uh I've come to Jesus." What do you think about that? This sort of
yeah.
phenomenon.
I mean, and I'm gonna extend this to like more just like the world in general, but I guess with the advent of, COVID, and like everybody being sort of terminally online now. A lot of people become sad and they turn to faith as a sort of like cope to gain back a sort of
I
vigor that
see a
was like
lot of
lost in them. And I guess this can apply to like some people in metal, like because I remember there's like
Polar.
some yeah. Like only recently a bunch of people are starting to convert, and I'm guessing it's because like
Yeah.
know because they in lockdown they must have like done some research and they like converted because they wanted to bring back that vigor. But the thing is, Dave Mustaine and freaking the guy from Wasp. Who's the guy from
Oh
Wasp?
yeah.
Blackie Lawless.
Uh,
That's my
part of me,
guy.
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah. Part of
converted
me
like
thinks that
20 years ago.
maybe, yeah, I was gonna say
So it was
maybe
before
like
the whole wave.
in their music, you can kind of like I can see that in Dave Mustaine, like in his music, you can kind of detect that streak in him of sort of like a this I don't know this like libertarian sort of 1776 type of mindset.
the
Maybe.
Constitution.
Um, yeah, with Wasp, yeah, I could see that in Blackie Lawless. I mean, shit, didn't he do
Dude,
like
his
a he
last
did
two albums
concept?
are called
Yeah, I was gonna say
Babylon
he
and
did like
Golgotha.
concept. I haven't listened to
He
those
thinks
later Wasp
Obama is the
albums.
Antichrist.
Fuck. Yeah, I did like I
Apparently,
did like a bit
Wasp
of
likes
reading on
immolate
those. I
incantation.
did a I did a bit of reading on those albums, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?
I
Like,
know
this
he's
is
freaking.
like some
He's.
Q shit. This is some Q shit. Do you think Blackie Lawless buys into Q?
Uh, I don't know. I haven't looked too
You
deep
think we
into
need
it.
only 2 more weeks?
Wasp
Like
should release a
he's off the
song.
goop,
They should release a
but I
song that's
respect
just
it.
like the link to the Q Telegram like server. Like all Wasp fans join this link.
Mhm.
Here we
I mean,
go.
if Dave Mustaine can like be like do an interview with like Alex Jones, I wouldn't doubt that Blackie Lawless would be on a similar, if not worse, wavelength.
Maybe,
Okay.
yeah, maybe. I think there might be a bit of that eclectic personality still in Blackie Lawless. Maybe he might show up on like fucking Alex Jones or something just because he's doing drugs and shit. I'm not saying he's totally purified now, but I
Yeah,
don't
no.
know.
When you first taste that fame, I'm guessing it's quite hard to get out.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's true. Now, here's a real question. How much money have you made off Bandcamp sales?
Uh, $5.
Okay, that's all I
Not
needed.
not sincerely. I don't know how much. Probably like I don't know.
Because I'm really curious. Like, I know stuff that kind of like blows up. Like, it normally rakes in like what, like 20 or 30 bucks. But like,
Oh, only
you
20 or $30. Because I
well,
got more than that. I think I've got at least 50 off of it.
hmm.
I see so many like just Bandcamp to me has just become a fucking dumping ground
I see
for
Bandcamp like
just
I see OnlyFans. It's gonna be like,
it's like Bandcamp has become this dumping ground for like five labels. Do you think there's a lot of money to be made on Bandcamp? Because I just see like these I just keep seeing the same names pop up in these labels and I'm thinking like how could they put this much effort into just dumping this shit?
it's gotta be the
It
thing
couldn't be
like
that profitable. It's got to be like Spotify where you're getting like a 30-cent stipend per listen.
no,
That's what I'm thinking.
it's kind of like OnlyFans for me, where it's like the top 10% make like 99% of all the profit. So if you're lower on in Bandcamp's like hierarchy, you're gonna make like nothing basically. But for you, it's not really about the money. It was just kind of like I was just curious about it because I've
You
gotten
know,
mixed
I'd
reviews.
like a bit. I'd like a sort of alternate cash source. And speaking of,
You should scam people.
shoot, I mean, you already know that I'm networking. Like, I got signed to Hessian Firm. Shout out Hessian Firm.
Oh
We're
yeah, there
planning
I
we
on a
go.
didn't
full
know
length.
that. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
you didn't know
That's
that? Well, now you know.
no.
Hessian
Fuck.
Firm, we like Hessian Firm.
Yes, I do.
What is it?
Fashion firm is good.
Coach Vice is on there. We like him.
Yeah.
He's our friend.
Yeah.
What else? I like Methodist off that. Aren't those the guys who were talking about describing themselves as dark metal?
Yeah, dark metal.
They're silly.
Yeah.
They're pretty silly. Uh, all right.
But
And
no,
you
the
got
other part I was gonna mention, freaking Vera Lula. You guys know Vera Lula, of course, right?
yes.
I replaced the other guy as a vocalist and also helped write some songs.
I was
What
going
what should we call him? The
I
other
was
guy.
going to say, wait a minute,
We're-
wait a minute.
okay.
Something. I didn't know they were still around. Wasn't there this one guy in there who was a little
Well,
loosey goosey, so to speak, but
are we gonna bring
we're
up
not
that
gonna
drama
air
here?
that dirty
Okay,
laundry.
okay, but
We're not
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
air it.
yeah.
We'll put a pin in that.
If you know, you know. But basically, he's out of the band, and I replaced him, and I'm doing vocals, and I wrote some songs, and me and the other guy, freaking Santeri, we're gonna split that, and we're releasing on Nameless Grave,
ooh,
the same label that dropped Dungeon Serpent, and you know that they kind of blew up
yeah.
off of
Mm.
that Nameless Grave release. So I think that would be a decent amount of money out of music, and I'm happy with that.
And you're gonna put that. I know you've been searching on like kind of a place to record live drums. Because we've had a couple like conversations off camera where it's like I'll be like, dude, you need to get like real drums on your releases because I would constantly be like listening to your stuff. Your drum programming is already pretty great. Is it Bobby that does that, or is it like you do all that, right?
No, I do it all.
That's solid. Your drum programming is great, but it's like there's kind of like a limit to what you can do with it. You know what I mean?
If I'm being honest, since they're demos, I didn't put the greatest effort into drum programming. I barely humanized them. One of them has like an auto humanize, and that
That
was the
was
drum
one thing that
program.
I noticed.
That was the drum program I put on Divine Restituents. But the thing is, though, is that it's like it doesn't quantize them. It's mainly just the velocities that are changed, but it's
Yeah.
still like straight rhythm, and I want to fix that if I were to
Yeah.
ever like continue drum
I think
programming.
since people have taken a shining to Mortician, I think the anxiety towards drum machines has lessened a little. I think people are more willing to try it out.
I mean,
Yeah.
and there's more one-man bands where it's like more optimal to use a drum machine than to hire a
Mhm.
drummer or get him yourself.
Yeah. I was
Because
just
it's
about to
so
bring
freaking
that up.
hard. So
There's
freaking
Trey
so
hard
many
in the
should
one-man
modern
bands.
day
Trey
to get a
Trey should
drummer.
just get a drum machine for the new Morbid Angel and just record the vocals himself. He
Morbid
should
Angel.
just be the only member.
Does
Pete
anybody even
Sandoval
remember the new
versus
one?
drum machine.
The new what?
New Morbid Angel. Does anybody like
Kingdom
remember like?
Sustained?
Does anybody remember one riff off of that? Kind of a departure, but
Oh, I got one. It goes.
Not too much.
No, that's the first song off
Oh,
of.
no, that's
That's
Summoning
Summoning Redemption.
Redemption. God damn it. Well, that question answers itself. Nobody does remember a single riff, but I remember there was one song on it that just fucking dragged. It was worse than anything from Domination. Um, I can't remember it, but people will just know it's just like this. It's this fucking chuggy riff, and there's no change up at all. There's
hell
like
yeah.
no chorus,
They should bring
nothing.
back
Just
James
one
Hetfield.
constant
Not
riff.
bring back him, but they should just invite James Hetfield in Morbid Angel
Yeah,
now.
All these
not his
screaming
vocalist.
bands
So
with
here's a
their
good
deep
question.
growls and their nonsense drums. They need a good guy like James Hetfield to rap for them.
Hell yeah, brother. So I know you like immolation and incantation, right? I'm not sure if I've asked you this, but what do you prefer
Oh,
out of the
me?
two? Yeah.
A good one.
Is this like question for the both of us or just for me?
We'll
You
discuss it
can answer
later.
that one.
Just answer it.
Because I'm stuck because I used to say incantation, but then I listened to Here and After again, and I started crying. So
Yeah, we're talking about
I
like
I
evil
I don't
music
know.
that
I
sounds
don't know.
sad.
And they really are just like two of like the greatest bands in like the league, and they solidify New York as like the greatest death metal freaking city of all time.
As a
Like even
Floridian, I'll
if like
bow
there
to
was
that.
none,
Would
even
you
if there
still
was like
count?
none
Would
of
you
the
still count
NYDM.
incantation? Would you still count incantation? They're not far from
No,
where I live, and I
I
live in
think well
Pennsylvania. So
they originated in New York, right? Like they
yeah,
had like Will
yeah,
Brahmer
Yeah.
they're in
in there.
Johnstown now. Yeah, they're in
I don't know.
Johnstown. Something like that.
I consider them NYDM in the same way I like consider Cannibal Corpse like
Yeah,
NYDM.
everybody's heart of hearts. There will
Honest.
always be NYDM, I guess.
That's true.
But yeah, no, freaking they even though they have their two sort of distinct styles, they both are they're like pretty different and like similar. They like take like the same like sort of dissonant, like slithery sort of tremolo riffing approach, but
Yeah.
in like a really slow doomy part, like doomy way, like incantation, and the other in like the technical, you know,
Yeah,
crazy way.
immolation is more
It's
like
like
Immolation.
the deicide morbid angel or the entombed dismember dichotomy, sort of, where it's like
Hmm.
deicide's just a much more rhythmic, vocal centric sort of take on the sound, I guess.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
Yeah.
just I don't. They both do it perfectly, like in their own way, and I can't really
and
decide
they're both
who
really
is
good
better.
still.
Mhm.
Like,
I guess if we're talking completely like quality, if I'm gonna be like a little robot here and just do it by like the amount of quality albums, then Immolation.
yeah. Ah,
But Incantation is they hold their ground. I think I because my favorite album, Onward to Golgotha, like out of the whole like Incantation Immolation stuff, Onward to Golgotha remains my favorite album out of both of those bands. So that kind of evens out the 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 lack of balance and how many good quality albums they've released.
yeah.
So I can't really decide.
It is like
Now,
one of
out
the
of
toughest like debates between the two. I'll tell you that. But like, I'm not sure. It's like they kind of fit two separate moods because like immolation is kind of more percussive with it. So like it's whenever you want something like a little bit more. I wouldn't even say groovy. I would say like I don't know.
it's just it's much more primal than
Y-
immolation. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah.
yeah, no,
Bob Vinyas sort of sounds like he's got like this sort of methodology to how he writes riffs, but it's like with incantation, it just seems like it's just madness.
yeah, that's fair. All right.
You know what I noticed? One sort of interesting thing, Immolation. Immolation writes like riffs that are like good on their own, I think. But incantation, if you listen to an incantation riff on its own, like without the whole like context, it's just sort of yeah, it's there. But the way they like piece them together, it it makes tension in this really scary way that you wouldn't expect just from hearing a singular
Yeah.
incantation riff.
I never listen to like a single incantation song. I just listen to the whole album. I think that's just the way it's all meant to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that
And
way incantation is a lot like black
before I
metal.
forget, that Morbid Angel song just came back to my head. The song is called Declaring New Law. It's one of the worst things I've ever heard. Just
What happened? What
yeah.
happened to Morbid Angel, man?
They shouldn't come back. They should stay where they are.
Don't you like Heretic a lot, Jack?
Heretic is underrated as hell.
I like it too.
Even Drum Check?
Drum, that's the best
What
song.
about Terror of Mechagodzilla? What about
I,
Lava's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10?
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking when they like made the track list for that album.
Yeah.
it's literally like it's like they had like a contractual
Pretty
obligation
sure.
to
Yeah, I was
release a
gonna
certain amount
say
of songs, and so they
I
made just half of them
yeah.
like bullshit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you ask them, they just say it was a contractual obligation
Yeah,
with whoever the fuck.
maybe that's the reason that it's kind of gone under the radar. It's just so some of it is just so ridiculous, but it's still
I think
they have good songs on it.
with the advent of streaming, more people have warmed up to it because they can just skip that shit. But
But
if
yeah,
you're
on CD, oh God.
yeah, yeah, if you're like listening to this front to back, you're like, oh God, I gotta skip all this shit. Yeah. And I think that might be why people didn't like Domination either as much as the other albums.
Yeah.
Besides production values
Yeah,
notwithstanding.
the production, people complain about the production, but I think this is like among their best, probably. I also love the last track, which is just laugh, but it's spelled like LAFF. Retards.
Uh,
Okay.
Whoa. Dropping the R slur on her
Whoa,
program? What the
whoa.
hell?
Sorry.
That's way too over the
That's a
fucking
little
head.
bit too much for you too. You can
Yeah.
like bleep it over with like a black metal scream or something. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Paul with a Paul Ledney or a proscriptor rant. There you go.
So here's another thing. I know Merciful Fate is one of your like favorite bands of all time. What is that? Top two?
uh, top three, I think it's tied between
Metallica?
Metallica,
Yeah.
Wasp, and Merciful Fate.
I actually haven't gotten too much into Wasp, but
I'm surprised Manila Road wasn't it.
so following that, would you kind of consider yourself a metal old head? Like like a metal old head. Like
An
you
old
look
head,
back,
yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
like
you
trad
look
metal.
back, yeah, you look back on trad metal like more like in a more positive light than you see extreme metal. If you were forced to pick one or the other, what would you pick? Like 80s or 90s?
Well, the thing is, though, 80s or 90s is I don't think that's the right dichotomy for like traditional and extreme, because there was extreme stuff coming out in the 80s. In
Oh
fact,
yeah.
the 80s extreme stuff is among some of my favorites,
Oh,
like
absolutely.
Sepultura, stuff like that. But well, which dichotomy are we talking about? 80s and 90s or trad and extreme?
Let's start with trad and extreme. Let's do that.
Okay, well, hmm. Okay, the thing is with traditional metal, I think for the most part, well, what are we like framing as like traditional? So there's obviously like heavy metal. I'm guessing
Yeah.
power metal, speed
Anything
metal.
without
What
anything
what
without
about
harsh vocals, I think is the
okay?
criteria.
Well, thrash. Where would thrash go? Thrash is like a pure like in
Exactly.
between.
Like any of the non-Brazilian, non-German band. I think
Okay.
when people like think
Well,
of non-extreme
what
stuff and
about
they put
Slayer's
thrash in it.
first? What about Slayer's Hell Awaits and Rain and Blood? I guess would be also be there.
Okay, let's do
If
that
you
this way.
wanted to get very, very pedantic, like even on Mystification, Manila Rose Mystification, like fucking Mark Shelton goes into some pretty like kind of almost like growly
Brutal
territory.
trad.
Yeah, brutal trad. It's a spectrum. It's a
Yeah,
spectrum. All of this that it
I'll
fits
just
on.
I'll just form my own sort of rules for it. But if I had to pick one, it
Yeah.
I guess it would still be extreme because I listen to it much more. The thing is with trad metal, I think the best trad metal kind of it has this place in my heart because it's like, the OGs, but it's also super, super quality. And I just have a lot of respect for it for its like
For
pioneering
its time.
aspect
Yeah.
and how it's good because like I don't know if this is like a bad opinion to have, but honestly, like the more like foundational and like influential an album is, the more respect I have for it. Because if I heard like a Metallica freaking song made today, I'd probably be like, oh, that's fine. But since that was the early stuff, it has like this subconscious sort of impact where it's like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah,
So yeah, the best.
it's not like bending to the masses. It's more so like you realize like for the time that it was released, how groundbreaking it really is. You know what I mean?
Hmm. And I'm not. That's not to detract from the quality because they are still really good. Like Merciful Fate, like even if it didn't have that, I guess like old school like mystique to it, I would still put them up there as one of the best bands if it was freaking like they were 2010s band. But
Would King Diamond fit into this? Like the King Diamond albums, especially the later ones. Do you think those are good? Because the '90s Merciful Fate albums are still pretty good. I mean,
I've
usually the
not
mark of a
listened
good,
to
really.
I've
Not
not
even
listened to
time?
King Diamond. I've not listened to King Diamond past
Okay.
Conspiracy.
Wow.
Okay. Fair
What's
enough.
your favorite Merciful Fate song?
Uh, Night of the Unborn, or what's that one song that goes like Corpse Without a Soul?
Corpse Without
Those
a
two
Soul.
songs.
That was probably my second choice. My favorite is what is it? The Mad Arab. Just because it reminds me of Wherever I May Roam by Metallica.
I didn't even think I answered the question yet about trad or extreme, but yeah, no, extreme because even though trad, I have a lot of respect for it and like a lot of the best stuff comes out of it because like I just mentioned my three favorite freaking bands, I guess, are under this trad metal umbrella. I think overall, like the greater amount of like quality and like experimentation and just like a variation goes to extreme metal because that's the whole thing, more extreme, more different. And
Traditional
Yeah.
so
metal has better solos though, and
yeah,
absolutely.
but
I
yeah, I guess extreme would have to like do it by like a little like just make it for me by an inch, but still tread is not something I would easily give
This
up on.
kind of this kind of segues into a question I have. Do you think that the best sort of extreme metal, death metal, black metal, whatever it may be, do you think it usually tends to have a basis in the more foundational aspects of heavy metal, stuff like that?
Well, hmm. Can you elaborate a bit?
Like Graham Belial's Key, you hear a lot of sort of
Oh,
heavy
that's the
metalish
band, guys.
riffs. Yeah, you gotta, yeah, Argo Slant. Oh no, like those are usually the referendum when it comes to heavy metal riffs and extreme metal. Those are like the first bands
I
that
start off with
I
Denial of
think
God
of.
at this point because like
Yeah,
Granville has
Denial of
key.
God.
Yeah, Granville
Yeah.
has key has become this thing where people just bring it up and compare literally everything to Granville
Yes.
key, and that shit
Yes.
pisses me off so much. So I've just started saying like, oh, it sounds like Denial of God, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Death SS is like one band I think of where they
Oh,
kind
it's kind
of
of like Mortuary Drape or
straddle the
Verathron
Yeah,
line.
that's
or Rotting
better.
Yeah,
Face.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there we
Mention
go.
everything that isn't Graham Bilal's key.
That's
Yes.
exactly what we're gonna
Yes.
do. Yes.
Like any of these like first wavy bands, whatever the fuck you want to call them, like I don't know, Root
The old
Yeah, those
Italian
Majesty,
bands are
stuff.
like in the middle between for like in the middle between
like
first wave and
early
second
early
wave.
90s, early
E-
90s
Yeah.
Even
stuff.
Bulldozer.
Yeah. I
Even
don't
though
I
that's
don't
more
I don't
like
really fit. Yeah, I don't really fit Bulldozer, and they're not early 90s, they're more late 80s, but we're not gonna get too fucking pedantic with this.
not with
Yeah.
some. We're not gonna
Yeah,
go
we're
into
going
that.
autistic
Yeah.
right now.
So
But
yeah, you
the
can go on to
question,
answer that
so I
question.
think I don't know. To me, to say the best extreme metal fits in sort of a box is kind of antithetical to like the whole sort of message of it because it's like, oh, the best extreme metal is this way. It has to be this way. And it's like, no,
Hmm.
the best extreme metal is like the best sort of music
Extreme
coming from
metal,
all
yeah.
sorts of styles because it's about, exploring different crevices, being unique, finding your own sort of voice and just, reaching the outer recesses of your creative mind. And so to me saying so the best extreme metal is the stuff that has a basis in trad. Like sure some of it can be like some of the best because I love Verathron,
Not
I
in
love
like the
Argosun,
most
but
Not in the
that's not
most
the whole
overt,
picture.
yeah, not in the most like overt ways where they just like pull a random like a rock and roll riff out of their ass. Like I mean,
Freaking
Hard
what's
Trey,
that
rock
one
and
band
metal.
Trey, well, I
Tiamat
Yeah,
with
mean
that song
Trey, yeah,
Evil Eyes?
yeah.
That's fun.
yeah,
Didn't they have like this like they had a bluesy sounding solo?
Yes,
But
that's
Trey,
my
Trey
favorite
from
part of the
Morbid
whole
Angel,
album.
like he'll just like he'll dick ride fucking Van Halen all the time, and if you listen to his music, you'll like you'll think, okay, I don't hear a lot of Van Halen in here, but I can kind of see where he's coming from. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So yeah, I don't really like to view it that way. So I guess it's kind of a crap answer, but I can't
Hmm.
really tell you because yeah, I don't know. Extreme metal, all sorts of expressions of it can be top tier, not just the stuff that's rooted in whatever.
Yeah.
yeah. I would agree on that. Like, I couldn't pick a decisive like best extreme metal genre. I could just pick like what's my favorite. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's kind of what I've noticed.
It just
Okay. So
depends
here's
on the
another one.
music quality.
Let's see. So you've got your side project disheaded.
Yeah.
Peep it on the abstruse YouTube channel. Run it up right now. Uh but you got this headed. Do you have any plans for like other sort of side projects? Because like I see what you're doing with this where it's kind of like stuff that isn't gonna fit the theme of your main project, but it's still like stuff that you want to release. So in the future, if you had like a new style, like you wanted to make like pure black metal or something, would you stick it under Disheaded or would you make like a whole new project for it?
Um, to me, just headed is just kind of like
An
the
outlet?
the asshole for creative ideas. Sorry for my vulgar language. I guess I'm not as
Your
Christian
dumping
as I once
ground.
thought. But yeah, it's just where I crap out all sorts of like ideas and like songs I want to make
Yeah.
that I'm kind of skeptical if they'll be like, generally as accepted by the I guess just if it's not gonna make it to like Apokatastasis, it's probably gonna go to Disheaded
Yeah.
because Apokatastasis, I've already built my niche and know what sound I'm trying to go for and like what type of audience I want to bring in. Disheaded is just like my pure like either creative
Creative
brain or
outlet,
just like
yeah.
boredom brain coming out because like the first two like the first Disheaded demo, the promo was just me wanting to make stupid brutal death metal. The second demo has a bit of strange melodic tinge to it.
Yeah, I did notice that too. It's like ideas that you do want to get out. It's just like you're still kind of
With
honing in those skills.
with all of your projects, would you like to sort of have a through line with them where you can sort of the listener would be able to detect your fingerprint on it and say, okay, I can sort of recognize that he made this, you know?
Um,
Like the melodic elements that he just mentioned.
well, I would like it to be that way. I'm pretty sure most bands would like to be that way. It's like with immolation. When you hear an
Yeah.
immolation riff, you go, "Oh yeah, that's immolation." I want to
Yeah,
try to, of course, I think everybody with adequate views on like creativity would want to have a distinct
their own
style and recognizable
flair.
sound.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that should be kind of the end game of every musician is to be. I don't mean like the end game of every musician, but like I think that should just be like everybody's goal
I
is to find their own
I
flair.
listened I listened to John Modvite's weird fucking I don't even know what to call it. I guess like if you really want to get genre specific, like sort of EDM project that he did with Dan Swano called Day Infernale.
Oh
It's just
yeah.
it's like this fucking like dance music.
Oh
And I
my God.
listened to it and I'm like, some of this is like I can hear sort of some weird like sort of a Storm of the Lightsbane type melodies in here. It's kind of
Yeah.
weird.
That reminds me
Like
of
even in the Black, in
the
that one album, you can still hear some dissection in it, I guess.
oh yeah. That reminds me of Prescriptor. Like just his straight up I think it's like Darkwave. Yeah, his Darkwave project. You can still kind of hear like flares of his actual songwriting. That's pretty good too. You should check it out. The Serpentine Has Risen. That's my favorite one. Uh, are we ready to start Hail or Fail?
Hail or fail!
Uh, all right.
Like
Is
as
Well,
soon as we mention
you just
Darkwave,
presented
we
it.
bring up.
You just yeah. Go
As
on.
soon as you
Go on.
mention Darkwave, we bring up Hail or Fail, and we have a certain Darkwave-ish demo on here that I want to talk about a lot.
Oh yes, that is true. That's a good segue. So we're gonna start off here with Necromanion. Okay, I don't like. I don't like this at all. The intro sounds like video game music. Uh, the vocals are absolutely awful, especially considering like knowing how like Darkin does vocals later on like the next two albums. You're like, oh my God, this is such a step down. Uh, I also saw something in the comments as I was watching, and I kind of like instantly draw the similarity. I was like, this sounds like freaking Dead Can Dance. This is like Dead Can Dance with like I don't know, like more distortion over it, especially with like the drum patterns.
I like the one thing I can commend it is that it has a bit of like industrial flair with like the samples weaving in and out of it that makes it
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
sort
It
of like
sounds like it
nihilistic.
sounds so weird. Like the only thing that has kind of been on a similar wavelength to me without being inherently influenced by, because I'm about to mention a band that is influenced by this demo, and they've said so themselves, but the only sort of thing that sounds like this independently of the music is probably the interludes on Unanimated in the Forest of the Dreaming Dead, where it's like this weird sort of
Oh yeah.
like almost kind of industrial darkwave-ish sort of ambience. But the vocals are definitely
Dog
these
shit.
are the
Yeah.
sticking point for me.
I hate the drum programming. It's literally the same drum. Whenever it's not like some dungeon synth interlude, it's just like boom, chick, boom, chick, and it's like, is it ever gonna change?
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll give them credit.
One
They
band that
foreshadowed one of the best Graveland songs ever with the track Sword and Blood.
yeah. One band that I just want to mention that it is pretty weird how like this was released in 92. So I mean, like Rob Darkin's just like all of these are just coming out of his head. They're not really
It was ahead of
influenced
its
by
time, yeah.
anything from Norway or whatever. But the only other band I know of that sounds like this is because they've said so themselves. They've identified this album strictly as an influence is Forbidden Temple from Belgium.
Oh, yeah, that's a
And they
good one.
sort of yeah, they sound like a much more refined, uh definitely more quality version of what Graveland was doing here is
Absolutely.
Forbidden Temple. You can
And I mean,
especially hear it in the percussion.
yeah. And I will give this a hail, but like I mean I will give this a fail, but like it is ahead of its time at the end of the day, and he was completely
Hmm.
pulling these like out of his own creativity. And that's one thing that's cool about like Darkin. Even though he changes his ideology like literally every four releases. Have you noticed that, Aiden? Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ideology of Graveland changes. They go from like uh hell, even like Slavic to like Celtic stuff to like just about everything. And
It
more
just sounds
recently,
so it sounds so weird. It just sounds like fucking like a it just sounds like just a cult, I guess, is the only thing I
yeah.
have for it. And I
They need to
mean,
make an American album.
even on even on this demo, there's still like these pagan sort of
Yeah.
themes. And I mean, they're probably one of the only sort of extreme metal bands to do this early on in the 90s, I think.
Yeah. But I will
Like,
say, don't
yeah.
I, they do it so much better on In the Glare of Burning Churches. If we
Hmm.
ignore the like I think that's Dies Irae for the intro of In the Glare of Burning Churches. I hate that shit so much. I've said that before, I'm gonna keep saying it. And the Celtic Winter, of course. You should if you're watching this, you should definitely listen to those instead. Even though this is a unique like piece of history for like Polish black metal.
Yeah.
Is that all?
Um,
Is that about all we have to say?
I didn't even give my hail or
Oh
fail.
yes, give
Okay, so I'm
us.
gonna say this is a flat out. Okay, not actually. I actually liked a decent size of it. Half of it was like weird, sort of ambient dungeon synth, darkwave sort of stuff. That stuff I enjoy quite a bit, especially the first
Yes,
song. The first song literally reminded me of like Wolfenstein 3D. Like one of the synths literally
I
sounds like a
literally said
Wolfenstein
it
3D
sounds
synth.
like video game music. Yeah,
I know,
that first track was great.
and it also has like these like pirate freaking heave ho sort of shouts in there, and
Yeah,
it just creates a cool sort of atmosphere, just like dark atmosphere, and it sounds does sound like a just like a old school like video
yeah.
game. And I
Just
think
sounds
I
like
don't know,
on and
that's
house
cool.
music.
That is cool.
Yeah.
And there's this other song on there that has this really dissonant sort of synth intro, then it cuts off randomly into like some metal song. It's like the most
yeah,
abrupt transition ever. I like that one too. I know I just like the more synth oriented stuff. And I already said before how I like the like interpolation of like samples, especially those like sort of like growly, raspy, screamy samples in the back that just sort of add this sort of atmosphere to it. I appreciate a lot of the ideas, so I won't give it a flat out fail. I'll say more like 50-50. If I had to do it, it'd probably be a bit more fail because compared to the later Graveland stuff, this
oh
sucks
god,
balls.
yeah, yeah,
But other than that, I see a lot of potential for the ideas. But if he just refined that, consulted with a bit of his friends to make a awesome album, then I probably would not see this as a fail. But yeah, no,
Hmm.
interesting stuff. Although I wouldn't listen to it freaking
ever,
again.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably the first song. The first song, baller. I love the first song.
I think like the only thing that this has to me is just like the historical significance behind it.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I think
it's okay. Okay, so next up is Victims of the Times, Zaster. We're having a trend this week with Hail or Fail where we're doing like I guess like more controversial releases from popular artists, which is funny. Uh, what do we think about this?
to me
Hail
this
and
was like yeah, this
oh,
was like his fuck you album to me. It's just making bluegrass.
Well,
Yeah.
what an interesting tidbit is I think he was homeless like during the making of this. So like almost all of the songs are like released or at least recorded in like different recording studios or different like bedrooms of other people, which is kind of cool. Uh the my biggest issue with it is honestly the vocals. And that could just be like my black metal brain wanting something harsher, but I'm also not satisfied with like the soft type of vocals he's using. Also, the like allegories that he does to drugs are like kind of embarrassing. You know what I mean? It's like it's very shallow like lyricism, I guess. I I will say though, like the instrumental tracks are beautiful. They are utterly beautiful. Like all of the ones that are under 2 minutes. I think like medieval acid jazz was one I liked a lot. Shit. I gotta look right now. Dust of What Was really good too. So I would give this a hail, but
You're
it's
hailing your own album. Not even freaking Aiden over here hailed his own album.
well, it's like it's like
I'm on either side. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not.
It's not
I'm a
like we
fence
win
sitter.
anything from hailing or failing it. You know what I mean? It's kind of just like we discuss it.
Yeah, I say hail because even though I barely listened to it, it's too damn long. Even
Oh
though it's
God,
too
yeah.
damn long, I still respect it, so I gave it a hail. It's because I don't know. You say you don't like the singing. I like the singing. I think ever since I try to start singing myself, I can appreciate the more soft-spoken stuff. But I really like how he interpolates. I guess the typical Zaster. It's like a ton of layers of like
Yeah, that
guitar and
is one
stuff
thing.
into I guess a more like country
Dark folk.
bluegrass sort
Yeah.
of vibe. And I don't know. It's just pleasant music. Not really pleasant. It's a bit disturbing, but it doesn't have to be like black metal to be disturbing. And I just think it has a cool, unique vibe to it. I'm not really the king of country or bluegrass or folk or anything, so I can't really talk about the nuances in accordance to those genres. But I don't know, cool, dope, awesome.
Yeah. I don't think it's like it's not kind of like creepy to me. It's kind of like it's hard to explain. It's the same like romanticization of like certain awful emotional states that Zaster has done before with like, all of the early releases, but it's less like depressive and it's more of like a longing for I guess a better life or something like that. I hate to sound like a music reviewer, but that's like the best emotion that
Maybe
I
we
draw
shouldn't
from
have
this.
a music podcast if you don't want to sound like a music reviewer.
You know what I mean though. It's not like I'm not gonna say like, oh, twinkly synths, these what is it? The dissonant tritones, shit like that.
Dissident Tritones.
You'd be surprised how much I hear that shit. Aiden,
Yeah, to me, this only has value if you can understand sort of
the
the
background.
background. Yeah, the background of the recording. To me, I just think that it's like I said, this is his "fuck you" album to me,
Yeah.
and it kind of just seems a bit juvenile, I guess is the way to put it, especially when you consider the
He's
lyrics
like
and stuff
80
like
years
that.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like yeah.
Yeah, no. The lyrics are kind of like
Scott Connor, aren't you 800 years old?
what is it? If you watch the live recordings though, I will tell you, if you like this album, I would definitely suggest you watch the live recordings because they are so much better. Definitely a highlight. So is this a two hails, one fail?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Fortunately.
So next up, we've got Dancing in the Dark Lakes of Evil. Who wants to start?
I can't speak on this one, but from what I heard of it, this would definitely probably be a hail. And I'm really sad that I did not have the diligence or the patience or the time to listen to this when I could have because it sounds really awesome.
Yeah, I did enjoy this quite a bit. So it might start me off on a bit of a tangent, but I hate these damn kinds of covers where it's just the band logo and then you put like, kind of the flares around the sides. Like I was listening to Aiden, do you know Hammer?
Which one?
Shoax. Shoax. Shokes. I don't know how to say that.
Like what country?
No, like the album.
Oh, shit.
No?
No.
Okay, that's fine. So I was thinking, wow, this album is great, but there's no like aestheticism to tie to it. It's literally just the band logo. And like early 90s bands did that good with their demo, but this is completely different considering it's like a full length.
It
I
is. It says it's
Yeah.
a demo on
Oh, I
on
must
the
be wrong
YouTube
then.
upload.
Shit, that's embarrassing.
No, the I actually like the cover because even though it's like pretty minimal, I think even with like the minimal aspects of like the cover, you can have your own aesthetic. It reminds me of this one band called Dies or
Yeah.
Dies Irae.
D0,
So
yeah.
don't kill me over my pronunciation. But no, it's Dies Irae. It's this one dungeon synth black metal combination, and the album cover is literally just the logo, but on the side it has a bunch of, I guess, like folk European instruments, and I like that cover a lot. So
I do like the font.
even though it's just the logos, like the logo and like I guess like the freaking corners stylized, I think if you do it right, if you do it in a tasteful way, it'll be cool.
Yeah. So I do have a gripe with this release though. I do. And they do this really like cliche thing that most like symphonic black metal does, where they'll add in synths, but it literally just follows the lead guitar and it does like the root of that, whatever that's
I
playing.
don't like that either.
And
I don't like
that
that
is
either.
the entirety of this damn album. I'm constantly waiting for like, for it to like twinkle. I said twinkle. I'm waiting for it to like
Twinkle,
move
twinkle,
up
little
or
star.
have like some sort of unique, distinct feature that can make me like draw it apart from the guitars. But the entire time, it just never happened. And it was literally note for note. And I when I found out they were from Greece, it explained a lot more.
Mhm.
It
Okay.
explained a lot more. I think it's like stereotypical 90s black metal. This is like the predecessor to Astarte, which is a great band. I think they do this a lot better. It's a lot more complex, but I'm still gonna give this a hail because this is literally like it's just stereotypical, like late 90s black metal. You can see this shit going on in Greece, Brazil, basically anywhere, even
among
Germany.
among all the freaking picks, we have Black Noise, Retarded Industrial Dark Wave, trap music, and then we have the most generic black metal album.
Well, we're
it,
getting too ahead of ourselves. We're
Oh,
yeah,
getting too
sorry.
ahead
yeah,
of
we're getting to
ourselves.
it. We're
Yeah.
spoiling it. We're spoiling it.
Well, yeah, it's a fail for me. Like you said, I don't like it when these sort of keyboard centric bands just the guitars are sort of they're just in lockstep with the synths.
Yeah.
Whereas on Limbic Art or Obtain Enslavement, it's
Oh
like
God, yeah.
the guitars and the keyboards are almost like they're like it's like having two guitars, sort of, I guess, or two
Exactly.
lead guitars.
There,
They're both operating independently of each other.
yeah, and I feel like that's not even symphonic. You know what I mean? It's just like literally black metal with an extra flair to it. Because there's no like symphonic like
Yeah,
complexity
it's
to
in
it.
that sort of middle ground to me.
Yeah. A lot of bands in modern times do that as well, which I don't like. So I'm gonna give it a hail just because it is like as much as I dislike that, it still sounds like pleasing to my ears. It's mid fodder, but it's not like awful. So I'll give it a hail.
It's a fail for me. I probably could do without it.
That's
I
fair.
probably wouldn't like listen to it again. Uh,
Fail,
I'm not.
fail.
Yeah, I was gonna say fail too. I'm not a fan. I don't like this like sort of
It's just not your style.
repetitive stuff. There's a thing they say about like a certain type of people, that they really like train sets because they're repetitive, and I think this is like the model
Autism.
trains. Yet, fuck. Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. This is like the model. This is like the model train set of music
You're
is
not
what I
wrong
got from
though.
this. This is like the model train set of music where you have
I'm
a model train set running from your fucking attic all the way down to your living room year round.
Now I'm surprised that Jack didn't like it because I showed you Reina Colera and you said that was evil, right?
No, no, okay. It's not that I don't like it. Like I see the appeal. Okay, I think I suck at Hail or Fails because I don't like being too decisive on music.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Like I'm quite outspoken when it comes to music I like, but music that I'm not really too fond for. I can always see the qualities in it that I like. It's just not for me. That's usually how I rationalize it because to me, it's kind of stupid to like view music through this like hypercritical lens because it's like self-expression.
Yeah. I don't
But
like
one
I don't
thing,
like that either, but it's like
so if I had to do it, I'd do Fail because like of course it's not my style, but I see the appeal. I see why people like it. I like some of the ideas that are going through it. But the thing is though, for me, what I noticed with a lot of the music that I've listened to, there's no development. It's just they present an
yeah.
idea and they leave it there. And to me, a lot of music is about developing your ideas or like creating, a sort of narrative out of it. And I want to get into the more experimental stuff, but it's hard because they seem to
Yeah.
forgo the narrative aspect of a lot of
Yeah.
songwriting just to like put cool sounds in your ears.
Yeah.
And it's like you can, have your cake and eat it if you can freaking do the experimentation while actually writing songs. And that's what I want to do one day when I finally have all my like resources figured out. And so
Yeah.
that's what I noticed, like with that Graveland release, this release, and disaster songs, like this, like the folk songs, they had some cool developments, but it's not
Oh,
like too
absolutely.
grandiose. Not too grandiose. It's just like,
Yeah.
disaster writing some awesome country songs.
I would agree with you, but I think you need to take like the model train aspect of this. I don't really see stuff like this as I see it on a different plane of expression as like normal black metal. You know what I mean? I see this as a very like ritualistic type performance art type of thing, right? Where they're invoking some type of ritual. And I don't know if you ever heard this, but there's an interview of Dagon from Inquisition where he was talking about like how people were like complaining about his vocals, and he was saying like it's monotone in that way so that it's the purpose is to like invoke this like ritual type of atmosphere, and that's what I see from this music. I don't see it as like people expressing. I see it as people like repeating same type of mantras. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like it doesn't invoke as much of an emotional response, but it's more of like a meditative response. It's very much
Mm-hmm.
a model train.
Yeah, I guess you could see it in that way. Like part of me, I think if I want to be, I can probably get into it if I listen to it for a while and like, pick up on the sort of repetition of it. But I part of me likes to have a bit of change and a bit of narrative just so I can like feel a bit of something.
Yeah,
Because
I
like
get what you mean.
it's not that I completely opposed to the more
Repetition.
repetitious stuff in the in
Black
music.
metal.
I
Yeah.
mean, one of my favorite freaking songs, "Suicide," Frankie Teardrop. That's 10 minutes of the same drum machine synth line, but
Yep.
the progression in it comes through freaking Alan Vega's increasingly more tortured vocals as the song progresses. And even though it's like has this repetition on like one hand, it being like 10 minutes of the same instrumental, it progresses in how the vocals and the sound effects come through later, and it makes it very interesting despite the minimalism of it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see like Branna called. I hate like bringing that up because I probably bring up
I
that
was,
them
yeah, I
like
was
every
gonna
week.
mention Moonblood too. It's like it's such like the narrative sort of element, the through line is so complex for a band that's just they're doing all that with the just the the resources that they have, which are so little, the production
Exactly.
values. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's two hails, one fail. Oh, we're one hail, two fails. I don't know. I'm tripping
Yeah.
over my own
And
words.
you wish that were the case. You do.
Yeah, okay, okay.
You
One thing
do.
I want to question you about, Aiden. So apparently this is too repetitious, but your Graveland release was perfectly fine.
Well, he's not suggesting albums that he likes. It's like we're suggesting just an album that we
Yeah, it's
find
something I
interesting.
believed it
Oh,
is. If you wanna take me to task on this, if you wanna put me on fucking trial, no. But yeah,
It,
that was repetitious in a way that this wasn't to me. Just something about the atmosphere was just like enthralling to me about the Necromanion demo. It just sounds so weird. It just sounds ghostly. It sounds it's such a like a cliched thing to say, but it's like it's one of those things that it really sounds like the album cover looks or something like that.
yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the or it's like this weird like sort of wraith kind of
I can
creature.
understand. I guess I didn't like it that much. I listened to it when I was working out, and that doesn't seem like a proper
Oh
atmosphere.
God.
Oh no,
It
no,
was just a
no,
trudge to
no,
get through.
no. That's not something I'd listen to when working out. No, no.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Okay. So we got what do we have? Intoxicated. Space
Oh
Ghost Perp.
yes.
Yes. So
Oh.
for the first time ever, we have a rap album in our Hail or Fail. This is
Sold
one
out.
I know we sold out. We sold out. But I tried saying no because I didn't know like how the reception from like the other members would be, but I love this. I love this release so much. This is probably like
People who subscribe for Grand Belial's Key are so confused right now. They're so
we
fucking
we
confused.
we hate Grand Belial's Key, okay? Why would you listen to Grand
That
Belial's Key
was
when you
just
can
my
listen to
way of
Rotting
climbing the
Christ?
ladder, was being one of the first people to upload Kosher Rot.
That pisses me off, dude. I could have been one of the first people to post Kohanic Charmers because I
Or
literally
no, yeah,
got
not Kosher Rock, Onyx Charmers, yeah.
yeah. I literally got one of the guys who like he leaked it, I guess, from a label like 2 days earlier before it was because Gila's freaking greedy, right? And he was gonna do CD only, but you know it was only a matter of time until it got out. So I guess somebody took a rip of the CD like from
The
the
way the way
label.
I predict, like the way I saw it in my mind was that it was like this sort of like Ocean's 11 type heist where they lowered this guy into the museum through like a rappel or something, and they just had him like steal the diamonds, and it was like the diamond heist of the century.
You know the what is it, like the Family Guy episode where Peter goes down into this massive like cave, like complex ass like system just to get like a porn magazine. I like to think that's how like Gilo stores all of his riffs. He's got like a massive like wall of like
I'm
just
never going to
recorded
look.
riffs.
We should like nobody should ever find out how somebody acquired the Kohanic Charmers rip. It's like the heist of the century. It's like fucking
Yeah.
stealing
I
something out
haven't
of
even
Fort
heard that
Knox.
album, if I'm being honest.
It's
Oh
you're not
man.
missing out on
People
much.
are all freaking out. Oh, new Grand Belial's Key, guys. And it's just like, yeah.
It's not the best thing by them. It's good, but it's not insane. That's all I'll
Uh
say.
yeah, you're not missing out on much.
Back to Space
It's
Ghost
solid.
Perp.
Yeah.
I love this is like top five
You
Space
you
Ghost Perp
know you know
albums.
that this is gonna be controversial if we start talking about Grand Belial's Key before Space Ghost Perp.
But
Uh,
it one thing that still cracks me up, this is like a sub this is something about like Space Ghost Perp in general, is I'll like hear a stupid ass line from him and then I'll just constantly remember that. Like you know when he says bitches love a me?
Yeah.
Every single time he uses that line, I think of Luigi.
That's the first song, right?
I think it is the first song, but like
I forgot what it's called.
do bitches love me. Every single time I think of Luigi saying it, like without fail. Uh,
What song is that? Intoxicated. Who I
and
be?
who I be,
Yeah.
yeah. My highlights for this album are Make Her Say, iPhone, which is like one of the best Space Ghost
Hello?
Perp songs ever. Also the one.
you
This
cut
is
out
this
for a
is an
second there. You
this
cut
is
out
a
for a
hail.
second. Yeah.
This is
Just letting you
absolutely
know.
a fail. I mean, this is absolutely a hail.
What? Oh my god. Yeah.
What do
This
you have to say about this?
this reminds me of a certain time in my life. This reminds me of the Hessian jokes days. I remember listening to this. I remember listening to this while playing Black Ops 3 and hot.
Those
Had
are
to be
better times.
late 2020. Yeah, must have been late 2020.
I wasn't even
Had to be
around.
had to be around this same exact time of year. Late 2020 was when I listened to this while playing fucking Black Ops 3.
That's the
It
dream.
it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
Shit. What's the name of the song? Uh oh my God. Fuck. I'm forgetting it.
Take your
I
time.
forgot. I forgot. Yeah,
Damn.
I remember at that point in time there were like so many Space Ghost Perp Dick Riders, and it's just yeah, I
Still
mean
are.
it stood the test of time. It stood the test of time. It's good.
Oh yeah.
I'll say that.
It doesn't
Is
like
this the
it.
only
Oh,
all hail? Is this the only all hail drop in
I think
this?
so. I
I
think this
think
is the
so.
That's
only
funny.
unanimous.
For me, it's
Yeah.
not even like it doesn't even invoke nostalgia because I haven't been into Space Ghost Perp for too long, but it invokes more of like an ancestral rage. You know, like how like a Celtic person
Is
could
this,
listen
yeah, I
to
was gonna
like
say, is this like you transforming into like some Viking berserker slaying enemies for
because
Wotan?
I'm like
Rob Darkin would
Floridian,
like
right?
this.
I'm like Floridian, right? So this is like my ancestral Floridian energy. That's
This
who
is like
Space Ghost
this is
Perp
like
is.
this is the
Florida man
music that
music.
this this is the music that the Saxons listened to when they were like burying people in
Yeah.
pots
Like there's that one
when
line
the
from
Romans found them.
the one song like
This isn't this is an Indo-European album.
like there's that one
This
line
is
like
back when there were real saucers flying around in Finland, running on
what is
free
it?
energy.
Come on down to South Florida.
This makes
Guarantee you
me
gonna die. That's like one
this
of my
makes me
favorite
think
lines ever.
this makes me think of the
that's from
Cubs breeding
Dragon. That's from
chambers.
Dragon and No Slime though, not this
Yeah,
album,
I know.
unfortunately.
It's just like I'm talking about the Floridian energy right now.
Yeah.
You guys wouldn't understand it, you know?
That's a Floridian
Yeah.
sounding album.
Okay,
I
I'm gonna
just
make my. Oh, sorry.
go on.
My comments. So I'm the one who recommended this album. I didn't expect that we're gonna get all hails. The
Yeah,
only
what
album
I
that
was
isn't
going to say is
is
that like we're on a metal podcast, and the only album we unanimously like on this is
yeah, it's not even
Black Album.
consanguineous to metal. It's just straight out of the ballpark. I mean, it can be consanguineous if you consider that Space Ghost Perp apparently named Meshuggah as a inspiration.
You've seen the video with him like holding his hands out evilly to Morbid Angel, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I haven't seen that. Where's this? I need
There's
to
a
see
video intro of him laughing manically and like holding his hands out at the camera and like growling while Morbid Angel is playing. Did we ever find what song that was?
No, it was just God of Emptiness.
that. If you could find the video, was it the "Come to me faithfully" part? Was it that part?
I don't even
Oh God.
remember.
Yeah.
It's kind of fuzzy now.
You just
About
probably
this
put on it
album.
by Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, I know this is like I would say a lot of metalheads like Space Ghost Perp. It's kind of one of those things where
Yeah.
like it's like metalheads are like, oh bro, I don't like rap, but I like Memphis trap and funk and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah. I really want to speak. I'm gonna slap you.
yes.
Okay. But yeah, the thing is about this album, it's kind of a stereotypical thing. It's how people are like, Memphis rap is actually the black metal of rap.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess I kind of agree with them in a sense, even though it's a corny comment to make. But this, I especially feel it with like how the synths are layered and the lo-fi sort of atmosphere to it.
Oh yeah.
It's like this, it's like freaking, Dat Piff mixtapes is sort of like black metal demos. But yeah, no, just like the thing is about this album though, if you listen to the melodies themselves, it's not anything that would be too out of the ballpark for any sort of like 2012 Chicago drill or Lex Luger stuff. But he just takes these futuristic like space synths and adds a lo-fi master on it, and it turns it from already like hard to something also sort of like evil and like dark and like foreboding within it. And the only thing I can really complain about on this album is some of the production choices are like pretty samey. A lot of the songs use the freaking typical Lex Luger brass line where it's just brown, 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 brown. And the lyrics are sometimes so ridiculous that it takes you out of the atmosphere.
He can't rap. Space Ghost Perp cannot rap. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he can produce the greatest beat ever, but he can't make a bar for his life.
But that adds to the music.
It can sometimes, like with Dragon and No Slime or Vamp Money, those two albums are like so ridiculous that it kind of like makes it cool. But this is more, I feel this one's more immersive and serious. So when the lyrics suck too much, I'm just like,
yeah,
it's not too bad though, because the beats are
Carpathian Wolves of rap.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the greatest songs. I like all the ones that sound like Lex Luger beats. So Ride for Me, and
that's a good one.
I forget. I haven't listened to this in a while, if I'm being honest.
That's fine though, because it's just ingrained in your mind.
And God of Black is pretty good. He predicted Nightcore in a way. He started pitching up his vocals like 10 years before everybody else did.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you
this
mean
is
Hyperpop or Nightcore? I think you're thinking of Hyperpop.
No. Nightcore
flash in the pan.
He speeds up songs sometimes.
Okay. I thought you meant with like the pitch shifting thing, but whatever. It's like nobody cares about Hyperpop anymore. It's just a flash in the pan.
One funny thing he does on this album, he has auto tune on some songs, but the thing is though, he makes the auto tune settings really fucked up. Like how auto tune it like selects pitches
Yeah,
and you like it goes through. He deletes some of the pitches, so there's only like three pitches within a scale, so his voice just jumps all over the place.
that's so interesting.
Yeah,
Wow, I didn't know that. What's
I
your
don't
favorite
know.
Space Ghost Perp release? That's the question.
Intoxicated is probably the best quality wise, but the one I've listened to the most is probably either Vamp Money or Dragon and No Slime because of how ridiculous and funny they are.
That's not bad.
Like
Yeah, Dragon has like that awful.
discography in terms of quality. Besides Blackland 2 is a bit overrated, but I think
I will say that, yeah.
yeah. But Dragon and No Slime and Vamp Money, they just have this like sort of unintentional schizophrenic
Yeah.
atmosphere to them that just makes them really, really interesting. And he has like this very cool charisma to him, even if it's like sort of like stupid and like embarrassing. It's like in a cool way. I don't know. You just have to listen to him. You just have to listen to the lyrics. He like
And you have to
raps.
read
He like
his tweets.
freestyles for like 10 minutes on a beat that's just like complete sub bass with like these very very low key notes, and he's just like saying the most ridiculous stuff
He's the
about
smartest
Florida.
guy ever. He is quite literally the smartest man ever. It's probably a normal pick, but I'd pick like Larry Bird season, or like the Ecstasy
Oh
tape.
yeah, shoot, Larry Bird season. I was gonna say Larry Bird season, but the thing is though, the original release is only 4 songs long, and I want to pick a more one that had more
Yeah.
length.
But
They
even like the only songs that are released are still like top tier.
Mhm. The compilation has a bit of extra songs on it, and that probably would be the best release if we did like the compilation that the bootleg compilation that someone made.
Yeah,
Like the one we're talking about, like with like Terror Gang and like all
yeah.
that 2014 era songs.
Bootlegs
But
count.
I part of me it doesn't feel genuine in invoking
Picking
those.
it.
So I'm just going. When I think about Larry Bird season, I think about those 4 songs.
That's
But if we were
fair.
talking about the whole thing, like the bootleg, then the Larry Bird season would probably be up there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like those first song, what is it?
All
Uh,
about the clout. What
what
the
the
heck
fuck
you
you
thinking?
thinking? And I like get to the cheddar. I like shit, what else? God, that is such a good EP. Uh okay. So we're all set. We're all set. All hails across the board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
can't decide if I want to say bad words or not. Sometimes I slip out, but then I realize what I'm doing and I stop.
you're allowed to at least like at most 5 times a day.
Oh, it's a dust
Yes.
storm where I live. What the heck?
So as we wrap this up, we
Yeah,
normally do like mention what we've been listening to recently. So who wants to start with that?
I'm pulling up my Spotify because I don't have the memory to retain anything I listen to.
Zoomer. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. We're degrading. We're talking about Funko Pops and Zoomers and Soy Jacks.
Back in the
I'm
day,
so
you would.
disappointed in you guys.
What I've
Okay.
been
I've
listening
been.
to.
Oh,
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 go
oh,
on.
oh, oh, oh.
Go on.
First,
No, no, you
I'm
go
going
first.
first. Okay.
Yes.
I had to. I had to assert my dominance there. I'm sorry. Sorry to be
Yes, I'm
mean.
sorry.
But
I'm sorry.
I've listening to Psalms of the Moribund because I was just trying. Defeated Sanity still sometimes doesn't make sense to me. So what I was doing, I was going through each of the tabs and like looking at like the frettings
Yeah.
along with like listening to the songs to see if I could get a better grasp of how they're written,
Uh-huh.
and it worked. And it just shocked me even more
That's
how
crazy
they
that somebody
play.
did that by ear.
Yeah. Well, no, no, no. I think they have tab books.
Oh, they do? I didn't
Pretty
know that.
sanguinary impetus as a tab book, but I saw that freaking. I sent you the screenshot, right? I saw that and I was
Yeah.
like, "Are these
What?
people human? I could never
No.
imagine to play that in my life." But
I
yeah,
love that one
Psalms of the
song off
Moribund.
Psalms, Arouser Through Punishment. That's one of my favorite Defeated Sanity songs ever.
Breeding the Spawn, Scum by Napalm Death, and the that one Eternal Suffering compilation.
Okay. Pretty
What
straightforward.
I've been listening to has been a lot of this one Polish band called Venede. They're
Oh,
this
I've heard of them.
really, yeah, they're really weird. They're just like they sound like the usual suspects, like Graveland, Velis, Infernum, stuff like that. But just out of nowhere, they'll pull out like this fucking like this cock rock guitar solo that sounds like it was off of Unanimated Ancient God of Evil.
Oh
I
yeah.
just I just found that really interesting to me. And I've also been listening to like Non-black metal
Non-metal.
stuff is a lot of no, no, still in the realm of metal. Just uh like US power prog. I don't know why, but like from the 80s, like stuff like Queensryche, Crimson Glory. I don't know why, but that's been hitting the spot lately
Hmm.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of Arkham from France. You might know the Maiden. They're really good.
I don't think so.
Very unique for their time, like Malediction and stuff like that. I've been listening to what else? Lots of Abyssic Hate. This is like slowly becoming like one of my favorite bands ever. Even their earliest one, which people kind of diss on a bit. Clandestine Blaze, I've been listening to a lot of. Their 2021 album was so good. Have you heard that yet, Aiden?
Clandestine Blaze.
Like, yeah, no, their most recent album, Secrets of
Um,
Laceration.
they've never quite registered on my radar just because
Looped in
they
with like
get
Magua.
yes, and
Yeah.
all these like sort of yeah, they get lumped in with all those sorts of bands. That's why I don't listen to them.
I won't like I won't even diss Magua actually. I still like them quite a bit. Like that first I think it was shit. What's the name of Northern Heritage? That Northern Heritage comp like crushing the Holy Trinity right there. With all of those bands, you got Despel Omega, Musta Surma, which are awesome, and Magua and Clandestine Blaze. It's like this split is literally like predicting the entire black metal scene for the next like 10 years, released in 2005. That's such
Mista
an important.
Surma,
Yeah,
I
Musa
wouldn't like
Surma.
yeah, I wouldn't like fit them in with them. That's pretty they're much more like sort of 90s sounding, man. That's very interesting that they're included in there.
Well, I would say all early Magua is really 90s sounding. Like if you
Yeah.
talk about like presence, that's pretty straightforward, I'd say. Uh
Apparently, Homer cheated on his wife in an episode. That is so sad.
damn.
I can't contribute because I know nothing about black metal, so
True
I'm just looking at my YouTube feed.
True love isn't real apparently.
Hmm.
But yeah, Secrets of Nation. You should really check that out. Like the Human Moth is such an awesome track. It's like the best Clandestine Blaze album, I think. Uh that's about it. I've been listening to like a lot of like power electronics and like noisecore, but that shit doesn't matter. You don't care about that. Uh that's about it, you know.